Good day, friends. I hope you're having a great one so far. This is Tracy Brown, and my team and I of non-diet dietitians provide trauma-informed care so you can feel safer inside and feel more agency about your food, body, and how you navigate your life. So, in this week's videos, we're going to talk a little bit about how we use food. And in particular, we're not going to really talk about restrictive eating this week. All eating disorders have a deprivation and restrictive undertow of, I guess, the energetic of it, or the vibe of it underneath it all. So if you're, if you feel like you're a person, you're not, like, you don't believe that you're, let's say, calorie restricting in any kind of way. If you look at your food objectively, it's like, yeah, I'm not under eating whatsoever. There's still an undertow there of, I shouldn't be eating this. What's wrong with me? I just, there's all this, there's a sense of negativity and trying to be controlling about the circumstance versus curious and compassionate. And, we want to fix it as soon as possible versus understand what even is a root of this in the first place. So in these videos this week, we're not going to be really talking about deprivation of like overall energy or food groups per se. We're really going to be talking about how we use food to change our state. And so a little bit of background before we get into that is that from the beginning of our existence, we are going to perceive, it's going to feel good to get our needs met, right? It's going to feel like a sense of care, all right? And the problem is how food gets kind of overly overcoupled with emotions is that if one of the only ways that we get relief from distress is through consumption, we will tend to overcouple certain kind of negative emotion states and food, as food is the only way I get to shift my state. So if we've had lots of scary experiences, or maybe just too many experiences of nothing there as any other source of relief or comfort, and the only thing that was there for us to hold on to was food, we will tend to then overcouple any kind of discomfort, whether maybe a better solution other than food would work or not is available. Well, we don't have the neurobiology to know how to reach for it because we haven't had enough practices with all kinds of resources. That's just kind of the reality sometimes of as we're growing up through our childhood, our childhood and adolescence and early adulthood. If we don't build all kinds of strategies and resources for navigating strong emotion, navigating challenges. I don't call it stress per se because we're all going to go through things that are a challenge, even a challenge and adversity and then actual danger. We're all going to go through those things. But when we kind of see all uncomfortable feelings inside or thoughts inside as a threat, even normal adulting day-to-day things can feel like a threat. And so if you kind of overcouple food with all that, then you're going to see where, of course, emotional eating that's not intentional starts to become its own neurobiology and its own neural pathway, right? So again, this video, I always disclaim when I talk about emotional eating. Emotional eating in and of itself isn't a bad thing. We all eat foods that taste good, that are pleasurable. We all eat for fun sometimes. Friday nights, going to the fair, celebrations, seasons of life changes. We all do that. That's a part of life, and that is definitely not seen as dysfunctional. What does become dysfunctional is that every time that we feel something uncomfortable, the under or the overreach, and in this week's videos, we're not talking about underreaching with food, we're talking about overreaching with food. The overreaching is just that we don't have enough other kinds of neurobiology to have other things to pick from, basically. All right, so this is what this whole thing is about when we're talking about fight, flight, freeze, or please, and eating when it doesn't align with the body's needs from a when enough is enough perspective, okay? So I'm just sharing some of this background, and I'm trying to be really somewhat meticulous about it, so we're really clear that there's not a attack against emotional eating, that it makes sense if there's nothing else there to reach for, and other kinds of care aren't available or they feel like a threat. If other kinds of reassurance, other kinds of things that should feel good don't feel good, and food will just become the stand-in for anything that feels uncomfortable, right? So the goal here is step one, and I'm going to do a couple steps here and then maybe go into more detail about it in the next video. Step one, if you recognize like, wow, I think I do that, is that anytime there's any kind of thought or emotion, it is just overcoupled with like, I need to eat to change that state. That's just what I've been kind of programmed to do over the years or decades. And of course I did. You know, you really want to have this honest, objective look, this witnessing back at your history. Of course this became a thing. You could do your own autobiography and sit really quickly like, oh, yeah, there was a deprivation of care. There was some missing stuff here in my history that, of course, food became overcoupled with filling what was missing. Of course, I don't know what real satisfaction looks like because I don't have all kinds of different ways of satisfaction for different kinds of adversity or distress or stressors. That makes sense to me. That's step one. Compassion. And the knee-jerk, because of our cultural conditioning, is that emotional eating is always terrible and it's my fault and I don't have enough willpower. And if we do, step two is we have to stop coming into agreement with those, it's not even logical because it doesn't make sense. If we really look at why we're eating and the way we're eating, it's like, actually it makes sense because of all the buildup of basically not enough resourcing to know what else to do. So step one, take a really compassionate, objective look back at our past to see how this got overcoupled. And two, probably one of the most awesome things we can ever do is like, you know what, I'm going to stop coming into agreement with this idea that this is the worst thing I could possibly be doing, you know, to try to help myself. All right. And then step three is to start to look at, start to identifying, again, these feelings, these sensations, and differentiating them. Meaning, what are the sensations that are hooked up with your feelings of dread, of disgust, of fear, of shame, of lack, of mad, of sad. Start to learn those, get some interoceptive awareness and start to look for what these things mean so we can start to slow all this down and separate it out. So then you can build agency, you can build choice, you can build a repertoire of ways in which you can navigate discomfort, distress. If there's a true threat, we want to get to the place that, I'm fighting, I'm flighting, I'm freezing, I'm pleasing. But for the most part, we're eating because things, we don't have a clear awareness of our adult selves having the agency to be able to separate from true threat versus discomfort, and using other tools. And food can be one of the tools. We just want to be very intentional about it. So I hope you took notes today. If you did not, go back and watch this whole video. I would love to see your comments below about really specifically, what does that look like for you? How do you catch yourself in those moments, or you have some idea of what's going on, but you just don't really know how to slow it down? Keep in mind, I've also talked about all of these themes over the past 10 years on my YouTube channel, so please go to my YouTube if you like, and you could Google something. You could search in there about fight, flight, freeze, or please, how it works neurobiologically. I don't want to go too deep into that today because I have a whole bunch of teachings on that. But I just want to break it down a little bit more here in the moment. What does this mean? And to start to bring this a more compassionate stance to it, all right, to the whole theme and topic of emotional eating. And remember, all eating that's probably not based on hunger and fullness is emotional, okay? Either emotionally under-eating, emotionally overeating. In these videos, we're talking about the actual eating that's past some of our body's needs, and past some of our needs. However, all eating problems, chronic dieting, all the things, eating past fullness, all of these issues still have an undercurrent of deprivation. And whether you feel like that you you don't undereat or not, there's still a level of something's missing, something's too little, and it's usually too little compassion, too little time to really separate ourselves from what our true needs are. So that's what these videos are about this week. I hope you enjoyed them. Please, if you have any desire to have any more specifics spoken about on the next video, please let me know. And we will hop back in when we picked up on today's video around probably the most important step of this is learning how to differentiate what we're capable of in now time versus what we have been trained to think and believe about ourselves and emotions from the past. All right. That's really, really important work in this. All right. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.